Good morning, Noblesville. It is Monday, February, Kristen. We've got another month under our belt. February 1st here in the city of Noblesville. Welcome to another edition of Mental Health Monday in the cold dead of winter. We had some great snow this weekend, and which is exciting if you're under the age of 15. Over the age of 30, my lower back just hurts this morning, Kristen, but that's okay. We're going to get through this together. So I am joined once again by my good friend, someone who is just continues to graciously give her time, Kristen Boice, the owner of Pathways to Healing Counseling here in Noblesville. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, Mayor Jenson. I'm impressed that you're out there shoveling the snow. That's
Hey,
impressive.
well, I woke up on Sunday morning I had a bunch of little kids that were a little bit disappointed that it was melting. So I thought I could just outlive the snow and that it would just melt off. But boy, that last inch just kind of lingered. So I figured I better get it off there and before we had more yesterday. So I did get it shoveled. Kudos to our street department. They've been working hard the last couple of days. We have a lot of good people trying to keep this city safe. So hope you all had a great weekend. Chris and I were just reminiscing about our weekends. My oldest turned 10 years old, which is hard to believe. Any parents out there or grandparents know how quickly time goes. So hard to believe it. We had a great weekend. We're so glad that you're joining us here today. We have a lot of topics to cover today, Kristen.
Yes, we do. I don't know if you're frozen on my end or just on your end.
Chime in if you have questions. We're here to answer them. If we don't know the answer, I pride myself on knowing a lot of really smart people who do know answers to these questions. Kristen probably has all the answers because she's incredibly well tasked for this today. I set you up for failure there. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That I only place to go is down from here.
Yeah, right. Sorry about that. But no, please let us know your questions. Let us know you're listening. We just thank you for giving a half an hour of your time here this morning to cover some big ground. So before we get started, Kristen, let's do a quick square breathing exercise, one of my favorites, and I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Mayor Jenson. The first thing we're going to do is, like Mayor Jenson said, is our square breathing. And what we're going to do is put our feet on the ground and start there. We're going to inhale for 4 through our nose. We're going to hold for 4. And then we're going to slowly exhale out our mouth for 8. So it's a lot longer of an exhale. And it's almost like you're cooling soup or cooling a cookie if you're working with little kids. So let's do it together. Pressing your feet, kind of get situated in your chair. Or if you're standing, that's fine too. Pressing into your feet. Inhale through your nose. Hold. Exhale slowly out your mouth. See how long that exhale was. Let's do one more together, pressing into your feet. Inhale. Hold. Exhale slowly out your mouth. Almost like you have no breath left on that exhale. You want to get it all out, all that tension and tightness. Do this 5 to 6 times every hour. 5 to 6, 7, or even 7 or 8 breaths to help you come back to center, come back to calm, connected. That's where compassion lies when we're in our prefrontal cortex and we're in that present state.
I love it. Who would have thought something so simple as breathing can make you feel so good and is so necessary? So I love that exercise. I say I do it all the time. And it's the truth. I encourage you to do it as well. So, hey, let's tackle a big topic here. I mentioned at the start, we're in the dead of winter. We're over January, which is exciting. Some people think January is the coldest, darkest month. I personally think February, although it's a short month, can be very dark, very cold. And I know there's a lot of people dealing with the winter blues right now. We talked about this several weeks ago, kind of some tips to manage that. I was with some friends last night that I know are one gal had bought a weighted blanket and one of those lights that you can have. She's got it both going on, and it was raving about that. So people are taking what we're talking about and applying it to their everyday life, which is great. But I still know that it is dark, it is cold, the sun doesn't shine a lot, and it's just a tough time of year. And as Kristen put it so eloquently before, there's a lot of people that are wary right now. So Kristen, let's dive right into that topic. Maybe let's talk about our feelings around it, and then maybe some advice on how to manage through that this time of year.
First of all, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
The statistics are really high right now. 1 in 2 1 in 2, and I'm gonna even go higher, but this is the statistics right now. 1 in 2 people are struggling with emotional or mental health in some capacity. So somebody in your house, if you're living with more than one person, chances are you and somebody else, or you or somebody else in your family or your friends. Think about it. When you're in a room with someone, half the room is struggling. Put that in perspective. So you're not alone in this, although it feels so much like we're in isolation. The first thing I want to say is take your deep breaths. Take your deep breaths. The second thing I want to say is right now, you're going to connect to a lot of despair. And again, like Mayor Jenson said, this word weary is coming up with every one of my clients. They're like, I'm just weary. I'm like, of course you are. We've been in this a year. We've had a lot of changes. We've had a lot of upheavals. We've had a lot of challenges, and we have so much uncertainty. And it's okay for you to go, you know what? I'm exhausted. And I had what my daughter said, I am just over this. I am sick of this. And I'm like, absolutely. You're not alone in that. And the first thing I want to say is it's okay. Get it out. We are all tired of it. We need human connection. We're craving a hug. We're craving just being with people again. We're craving, some of us are like, okay, I'm fine with not being with people. But during the winter months, especially in particular, we're hard already as it was. Add the pandemic on top of it. And here we are with the statistics of 1 in 2 people are struggling. So we are definitely in a mental health crisis. And during this winter season, again, the first thing I want to tell you is if you can do some breathing coupled with some movement, any place, and I know people are like, it's too cold for me. I'm going to be honest out there. So you're not alone in that. But if you can do something in your house, if you can do something, if you have a treadmill, and if you don't have a treadmill, that's fine. Do a video, one of the yoga video of some sort, or just even moving your arms while you're sitting, or just kind of moving your legs while you're sitting and watching something is really helpful. The next thing I want to say is, and people are like, I'm not going to write this out. I don't want to journal. I'm like, let me just tell you something. The people that journal, and statistics shows this, research shows us, the people that are writing out how they feel are doing far better mental health wise, because what they're doing is they're processing it and they're getting it out. So my daughter had a situation this weekend where she was really struggling. And I said, honey, I'm going to tell you the number one thing to do is go write about it. Go write it out. I don't want to do that. I don't want to write. Guess what she did? She went in her room for 10 minutes and she's like, I feel so much better now. My goal is I'm going to write every day. And I'm like, what did somebody say you're going to write every day? Because I've been saying this for so long. Until you actually do it and then you see results, you're a believer. Then you're like, okay, now is it a miracle cure? No, it's a way to process the blues. It's a way to process the sadness, the isolation, the weariness, the exhaustion, the depression. And we feel hopeless and helpless and powerless. We're like, when is this going to change? We don't know. So the first thing I want you to do is write it out. The next thing is reach out for support. When we are holding it in and we're trying to process this all alone, oftentimes we feel alone. We feel like we're the only ones struggling. We feel like there's something wrong with me. Why can't I get through this? Why am I struggling? Everyone else looks like they have it together. What's wrong with me? And when we reach out and we go, 1 in 2, remember that statistic, are struggling. So today I encourage you to reach out to one person. This is the antidote. When we help someone else, oftentimes we're helping ourselves. And that's not the goal. It's to be like, well, then I'm going to help myself by helping someone else. It's no, I know 1 in 2 people are struggling. So I'm going to reach out. I'm going to send a text and say, hey, I know you're lonely. I know you're weary. I know you're scared. I know you kind of feel like you need a hug. I know you're feeling overwhelmed with the kids and virtual learning and you're about to lose your marbles. And I just want you to know, I am so grateful for you in my life. I'm here. If you just want to talk, if you just want to get on a Zoom call, I'm here. Let's do this together. Let's be vulnerable and real together. There's nothing more powerful than coming together through vulnerability and community. We're scared to put ourselves out there. We're scared of abandonment and rejection. So we're like, I'm not going to call Susie over there because what if she thinks I'm crazy? What if she thinks I'm weird? Or what if she thinks something's wrong with me and doesn't like me and all the things? What I can tell you is don't have strings attached to it. Just reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody and tell them you love them, you're thinking about them. And then every day I get into practice of gratitude. And it's hard sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, what? Okay, can I think of something? Okay, I'm grateful for my fingernails. I mean, we kind of get into this where we're like, what am I grateful for? It feels like doom and gloom. And I said last time, when you're in gratitude, your energy shifts. Your energy shifts when you're in gratitude. The next thing is, let's acknowledge the feelings. Let's make them okay. Self-compassion is powerful. Self-compassion, when you're kind to yourself and you're nurturing to yourself, I promise you, it will help you get through the hard. Prayer, meditation, support groups, and like you said, the weighted blanket, telling you, because it helps you feel that release in your nervous system, the happy lights, right?
Mhm.
The lights that you can put on your desk, all important. Vitamin D. I'm not a doctor, don't play one on TV. Lots of vitamins during this time. A lot of us are deficient in vitamin D and vitamin B and C. So we need to supplement that when we're not getting enough sunlight. Those are just, I could go on, but those are a few highlights to help you get through this really hard time. And I want you to know you do matter.
Mhm.
You are important. And your shame will tell you that's not true and try to block it. That's what self-compassion looks like. It's like, okay, honey, it's okay. Everybody's struggling right now and it's hard. Talk to yourself that kindly. That will help you with your emotional wellness. Again, 1 and 2 are struggling. So if the narrative in your mind is I'm the only one, that shame says what's wrong with me, I want you to remember 1 and 2 are struggling. We're not alone.
And that's what, my good friend Jenny Abel, who is mother of an individual I graduated high school with, and just a wonderful, wonderful person. She said, "Wow, 1 in 2 people like that." We pause on a second for that, because 1 in 2. Look around you right now. We here in the mayor's office have like 10 staff members just in this office alone. I mean, 1 in 2. So this is not a minor statistic. This is a major reality. So I think that's that.
Major.
Yeah, absolutely major. Now, the weighted blanket. I want you to kind of, what does that do for you? Do you know? Because
I do. I
yeah,
do.
I'd love
It's a
to get
good
a perspective.
question.
Yeah, I think people hear it, and again, we have one at home. My 10-year-old has it in his bed because he stole it from his mother. And but I know, again, a friend of mine this just yesterday told me she got it as well, loves it. So tell us a little bit about that.
It's kind of surprising. People are like, oh, really? A weighted blanket? What is that even? You can go to, I think My Calm Blanket, that's where we got ours, but they're all over. I think like Walmart has them, Target, like everybody has them. What they do you remember well, we don't remember clearly being in utero with our parent, but what happens is we have like a cocoon feeling, okay? That's very soothing and calming to the nervous system. So what it does is that weight, and even kids that have autism or on the spectrum, what that does is that's that feeling of being held in the nervous system. Right now, we're super deprived of touch. Like it is an epidemic in and of itself that we're not able to hug. We need that. We're neurobiologically wired for that, to give at least a 30-second hug. You know how people are like, get uncomfortable with that? That if you give a hug, that's similar to what a weighted blanket can do. What that does is that it's almost eluding physical touch in the nervous system, and the body can go, healthy physical touch, right? Can go, okay. So that vestibular system in the nervous system is then soothed. It's then regulated. It's then calmed down. It's almost like that whole idea of being held. That's why kids respond super well to weighted blankets. And it depends on their weight. That's the weight. It'll walk you through when you purchase the blanket, like what is your weight? And then it'll recommend a certain weight of the blanket for you. And you'll see kids immediately kind of calm down. I also in my office use lap weighted blankets. So if you're watching TV or a kid is working on their virtual learning, you can put that weighted blanket on their lap and they go, again, it's to help calm that nervous system down. So I recommend those when you're working at home, which most of us are working at home. Put that weighted blanket. You can also buy lap weighted blankets on your lap to help your nervous system go, okay, ground, center, breathe, and calm. And you'll be astounded. It's kind of surprising. It's not so conscious of the difference. You can just notice your body relaxing and it's almost like taking a deep breath.
Yeah.
So I recommend getting one. And if you don't like it, you can always send it back. but I
Yep.
know postage is a lot, but sometimes there's free returns. So I'm highly recommending those right now, especially for anybody with anxiety or depression, which again, 1 and 2 are struggling emotionally on some level.
Yep. Yeah, I just wanted to stop on that because I'm a big fan as well. I've taken a nap with it, and it's awesome. So highly recommend. Highly recommend. Hey, let's turn our attention to another topic I want to cover today. Is February 1st, the first day of honoring Black History Month. And I thought about this weekend, kind of leading into this week, and there's been a lot of conversation over the last 12 months, really, around diversity, equity, and inclusion in our community all across the country. Racial tensions have been so high, some of the highest that we've ever seen, starting back in the spring with the killing of George Floyd and others. Here in Noblesville alone, we had a peaceful protest at Federal Hill Commons, which was a great conversation. We had a Facebook Live event with our friends at Noblesville Diversity Coalition, where we talked about policing in our city. There's been a lot of questions around police policies in our community, and we still see issues today arise around racial tensions in our community. So I'm glad we're in February, because I love the opportunity to highlight Black History Month, to honor that time. And I want to talk about, though, and we're going to transition here in a minute to how we have some of those conversations. But I wanted to touch real quick. I shared some of my New Year's resolutions with you several weeks ago, Kristen. One of them was to read more, and which the bar was set really low in my life, so it's been pretty easy. But I've already gotten through a book. My goal was 4 for the year, so I've already gotten 1, and it was a history of Noblesville. And I've learned a lot. It was fascinating. But this month, I started this earlier last year, Blind Spot. We have some copies here in the mayor's office. If anybody wants to borrow one, feel free to stop in. And so that is the book that I'm committed to working the rest of the way through in the month of February, and may take me into some of March as well. So just bear with me on it. But just wanted to highlight that if you are looking for some reading this month, tailor your reading around a theme, and Blind Spot's a great one to start with. If you have any questions, let us know. So just wanted to go on the record that I'm going to read this book, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. So with that, though, Kristen, sometimes these conversations around race, around diversity, can get really difficult, can be awkward for some. Everyone has emotions around them. That's okay, and that's to be expected. But can you maybe walk us through how we have some of these conversations? And they could be broader conversations with groups. They can be conversations in your own house. They can be conversations with somebody of a different ethnic background. So start wherever you would like, because I know you probably deal with this quite a bit, about awkward conversations or difficult conversations, and how do we have them?
Yes. First of all, what is Blind Spot about? You piqued my curiosity.
Well, let me get started. The subtext is hidden biases of good people.
Okay.
So so it's kind of taking a look at it from that angle, and I will come on in a couple weeks here and kind of bring you up to speed with the preface of it. So I'll keep you posted.
Well, the reason I asked, because we all have blind spots when we start conversations. So it was a nice segue into saying, what are your blind spots?
Mm-hmm.
Start getting curious about your blind spots and your biases.
Mm-hmm.
Not one person doesn't have a bias, even if you feel like you don't, right? Even if you feel like you don't, even if you feel like you don't have an agenda or you don't have any preconceived judgments, the fact of the matter is we all have conditioning. We all have programming. We all have messages we've received that can block us from staying open to another point of view. And so when the minute you feel blocked from another point of view is the minute you're going to be closed down to a productive conversation. And so I'm constantly checking my biases and asking myself, well, what do I feel? What do I think? Where did that come from? Did it come from school? Did it come from church? Did it come from our parents? Did it come from our grandparents? Did it come from cultural messages? Did it come from a book? Did it come from coaches, teachers? Where did we get that belief system? Because our belief systems affect how we're going to be able to have conversations. And this is something we don't often check because we think we don't have any. We're like, I love all people, which I really do. And it doesn't mean I don't have other biases that I don't need to check. And that is one of the most important pieces. That's why I like the blind spot title, because we all have blind spots. Think about it in your car. You're not intentionally trying to go in another person's lane. Well, maybe you are, but in this conversation, you go into another lane and they go, ah, and they honk the horn at you and like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, you're like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off because I had a blind spot. I didn't see it. And so I didn't intentionally try to go in the other lane. I literally didn't see it. So blind spots are an invitation. So that's an invitation. If somebody calls me on it, honks at me, to go, and I could go, oh, okay, I didn't see it. I wasn't paying attention maybe, or I just didn't see it. And I can welcome that feedback, even though the horn may startle me, even though someone's feedback may cut deep, even though I might not agree with someone's feedback. It's an invitation for me to rumble through. How am I coming across? Am I open? Am I closed? So how we approach a conversation first and foremost is checking your own biases, checking your own narrative in your head, checking your own conditioning. Because if we don't start there, I can't check. It's not my job and it's not their job to get me to see things differently. We can't. We've spent all year trying to get people to see things differently, haven't we? Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is we all have hurts. We all have wounds. And we have wounds tied to certain things and tied to certain subjects and tied to certain people and tied to certain messaging. And that's called trauma. And the most important thing we can do in a conversation is come with an open heart, open mind, and that energy of trying to create connection. It doesn't mean I have to agree. This is the thing. I don't have to agree with everything someone's saying in order to have connection. We are neurobiologically wired for connection and belonging. And in the family system, we have what's called differentiation. And that means I can have my own thoughts, feelings, and opinions, even if they're different than the family's, or even if they're different than yours, and that's okay. I'm still lovable. Guess what? People don't feel that. People don't feel that. They're like, I have to conform to what you believe in order for us to maintain a friendship. And it's okay if we have differences. Is how do we go about those differences? How do we go entering those conversations? Am I entering a conversation with an agenda? Am I entering a conversation with my preconceived judgments and biases? Or am I coming into the conversation with an intention to connect, an intention to maybe see something differently and expand and open my mind? And so open-ended questions are the best types of questions because we can hear one another. We can actually let that conversation expand and unfold. And mirroring back what someone says when you say, so what I heard you say is, that allows someone to feel heard, understood, and that you did take the time to really care to listen. When we jump in and want to get our thing out because we have a rebuttal to what they say, or that's not a fact, or we think that's not true, we're not really connecting. We're entering a debate, and that's for the debate team.
Conversations are not debates.
And what we do is we want to debate because we think we're right or we think they're wrong. And that goes on a road to nowhere. Right? That goes on a road to nowhere. So the bottom line of all this in terms of having healthy conversations about difficult topics that are real topics that are really important is to be willing to humble yourself and acknowledge your own, what I want to say, blind spots, to use your book title, to own that. Take responsibility for the energy you're bringing into the room. That's Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. She came up with that, and I love it. It's something I practice in my own life. So when I get out of my car, when I walk through a door, I'm taking responsibility for the energy I bring. And if everybody did that, oh, what a different world, because we're not blaming, we're actually owning our contribution to the dynamic.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that coaching, because I would encourage, I'm somebody who loves, Kristen, just so you know, I love being uncomfortable. Like I live in the uncomfortable world. I thrive off those conversations. I think that's how we move the ball forward on whether it be a city policy or a personal issue, whatever it may be. But I know a lot of people aren't. So I like that coaching and that encouragement here. This month, if you are if you're feeling tugged to have some of those hard conversations, maybe take some of this advice and apply it to those that you feel comfortable applying it to, and go in with an open, grace-filled heart there in some of those conversations, and know that they were very well intended. So I'll keep you posted on the book. I'm excited to pick up where I left off. Like I said, I started early on last year, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. That's my goal this month, to get that done. So, hey, before we wrap up, real quick, Valentine's Day is coming up. And that can be emotional for some people. That can bring a whole array of emotions. I want to touch on that quickly because we won't have another Mental Health Monday until the day after Valentine's Day. So if somebody's, kind of weary about Valentine's Day, can you touch on that topic, Kristen?
Yeah, let's acknowledge Valentine's Day is about, really, it's kind of a Hallmark made holiday.
Right.
And in my opinion, every day is about how do I show up, spread light and love in all ways. And when we're in the dark, we don't feel like we have it in us to spread the love. And in relationships, it's about seeing and acknowledging each other. That's what Valentine's Day really is. But it can't start unless you do it for yourself, which is the biggest struggle I find working with people. Is the biggest struggle they have is acknowledging their own worth and value, loving themselves. They can feel like they can love other people better than they can love themselves, depending on the person, or they can love their pet better, or they can, fill in the blank, because they struggle with their own self-worth. And Valentine's Day is a reminder to work on loving yourself there, and then loving another person and showing them what that's like. So you don't have to be in a romantic relationship to do this. Like, Valentine's Day can trigger us because we're like, well, I'm alone. I don't have anybody. I'm going to be alone forever. And when you comfort yourself through that, and when you say, it's okay, I'm enough, I don't have to have someone to feel like I'm worthy and I matter and I'm important. And that's the essence of Valentine's Day in relationships. We have it kind of like this fairy tale, like it should be a Disney movie, and I want to blow all that up. I'm like, no, everybody that's in a relationship struggles. It doesn't look like it. We're waiting on the, carriage ride down, New York Avenue or whatever. It doesn't look like that. You might have moments of that, but it's hard. When you get married, or in a relationship, it doesn't matter what kind of a relationship, you're invited to grow. Because guess what? They might not agree with how you feel. And now we're asked to evolve. So I really see Valentine's Day as a Hallmark holiday, but it's an invitation for us to evolve. Just like everything else, this pandemic is an invitation for us to evolve. That's what it means to me. And I hope that when we have these conversations, we can talk about the reality that it's not always just this romantic, fairy tale kind of experience.
Bingo. You can ask Julie Jenson all about that. So, hey, I want to acknowledge Joni had a great question about boundaries. If it's okay, maybe we'll pick up on that in 2 weeks to talk about these hard conversations. How do we set boundaries? She said, can you talk about boundaries when someone constantly tries to sway you towards their own thinking and you don't want to, quote, go there? That's a great place to pick up in a couple of weeks, because I want to continue this conversation about having difficult conversations, because we have a lot of them in this community. So with that, though, I don't want to lose track of, if somebody is struggling right now, Kristen, whether, again, 1 and 2, if you need help right now, where do people turn?
Okay, right now, here's the deal. You're not alone. Text 741-741-CONNECT. That is available 24/7. If you feel suicidal, which I know a lot of people have, please call the suicidal hotline at 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. They're wonderful. They will walk you through the pain that you're in, because that's what's underneath it, is emotional pain. Don't try to do it alone. Please call 1-800-273-TALK. If you're here locally, Prevail has a 24/7 line if you're in a domestic abuse situation, and that's 317-776-3472. And 211 is the overdose hotline. So if you're struggling with someone with addiction, there's Fairbanks, there's Indiana Recovery Center, there's New Day, there's tons of options here locally. So please don't hesitate to ask for help, call for help. They're the experts in this. And if you have anybody that needs immediate assistance, Community North and St. Vincent Stress Center are here in the Indianapolis area. that are here to help you. Also, if you need therapy, you can go online and type in your local zip code, and there are therapists offering telehealth right now. And so please don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help.
Options are there. And again, we'll pick up with boundaries here in a couple of weeks. But remember, you matter. You are not alone. 1 and 2. We're all in this together. Kristen, I can't thank you enough for all you do for this community. Everyone stay safe. And we'll look forward to seeing you back here in 2 weeks. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you so much.